Tonight's big stories. Critics of charter change are questioning the lack of an enabling law to implement a people's initiative. One senator is now looking to raise this before the Supreme Court.
The Transportation Department makes it clear there will be no further extension of the PUV consolidation deadline after April 30. We'll discuss this further with Office of Transportation Cooperatives Chairman Andy Ortega.
And diabetes drug Ozempic continues to be a global online trend for its weight loss properties. This is despite experts warning of its side effects. We'll be getting more details on those side effects from Dr. Maricar Limpin, former president of the Philippine College of Physicians. This is The Big Story. I'm Sean Yao.
And I'm Angela Lagunzad Castro.
All right, let's kick off tonight's newscast with President Bongbong Marcos holding separate meetings with senators and congressmen today. Now, this took place amid growing tensions between the two chambers of Congress over what else, Angela? Charter change. A presidential sister and Senator Amy Marcos says that the president postponed his regular session with the LEDAC, or the Legislative Executive Development Advisory Council. These LEDAC meetings are typically attended by senators, congressmen, and department officials, where they discuss the progress of the administration's priority measures. But today, President Marcos had an executive session with senators, followed by a separate session with congressmen.
Senator Amy did not share details of what was discussed during the executive sessions and the reason why separate meetings were held. But she reiterated that the People's Initiative for Charter Change remains a hurdle on the work of the Legislative Department.
Okay, so despite us not being able to know the reason, since executive session nga, meaning may non-disclosure yan. Pero I think we can kind of guess, no? Na and speculate that all these meetings, tapos hiniwalay pa yung congressmen sa senators.
Baka mag-away eh.
Ito na nga, no? So malamang charter change yung
charter
topic.
change, for sure. Yun ang pinag-usapan nila. Diba?
So again, a brief recap of what happened recently. Ito nga yung mga senators, all 24 of them signed a manifesto versus a people's initiative. At right after that, they also suspended yung resolution of both houses number 6 that has to do with economic chacha.
At tapos, syempre, we can also remember PBBM earlier said Senate should lead chacha talks. No? And however, Speaker Romualdez says they're still willing to cooperate with Senate if this resolution pushes through. And he notes economic chacha, the priority now, at pag-aaralan na lang muna nila yung political amendments later daw.
Sabi nga rin ni Speaker Romualdez, no, na yung People's Initiative nga daw ay right ng mga tao. So it's a basic right. And just yesterday, Representative Joey Salcedo of Albay reported that 12.1% na raw ng mga signatures na required ay nakuha na nila. That is already 0.1% above the required 12%.
Okay, so apart from the Senate and Congress, may ugong-ugong din na may tensions between the President and the Vice President. No? And earlier today, the two highest officials met at a DepEd event. At alamin po natin kung may awkwardness. Meron bang awkwardness sa dalawa between the two? No? Let's bring in Elaine Fulgencio to give us the details. Elaine?
That's right, Angela. President Marcos and Vice President Sara Duterte met earlier today for the first time since the Vice President expressed her intentions to run again in the next elections. In fact, it was the Vice President, who is also Education Secretary, who welcomed President Marcos at the event where she presented her second basic education report. There appeared to be no awkwardness between the two leaders as they were spotted engaging in conversation. During his speech, the President even thanked and lauded the Vice President for the accomplishments of the Education Department.
Daghang salamat, Vice President Inday Sara. Your stewardship for the biggest agency with the largest constituency and, I would say, the most difficult mandate. Against this backdrop are tasks that complicate our mission to recoup losses from the pandemic, retool the curriculum, and reform the system.
Marcos said he is also pleased with the launch of the new curriculum for the K-10 program and the agency's over 11.7 billion pesos worth of projects.
Despite institutional bottlenecks not of your making, The DepEd has already built and repaired thousands of classrooms this year, and I look forward to seeing more of these this year and in the years ahead.
The chief executive also called on the health and education departments to ensure the health of students and teachers by, for instance, setting up health facilities and dental clinics in public schools. The president is also calling for additional equipment for students with special needs. Angela, during his speech, President Marcos described DepEd's basic education report as candid, clear, and comprehensive. He assured the agency that he will continue to support its initiatives. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Elaine Fulgencio. Now, critics of the ongoing People's Initiative continue to describe the campaign as legally defective. Albay Congressman and Liberal Party President Edsa Lagman said in a statement that promoters of People's Initiative to amend the Constitution for joint voting are brandishing mere scraps of signature sheets. He insists that there is no enabling law to implement People's Initiative as a mode of amending the Constitution. Lagman had been citing the Supreme Court decision on Santiago versus Comelec, which ruled that there is no executory law for People's Initiative.
Consistent naman, no, si Congressman Lagman. We've had him on the show right when this issue started, no? It started with may mga pictures sa Bicol, no? Nagagather ng mga signature campaign. Ang sabi niya kasi, you know, he's really going to question this at tututukan daw niya ito. Which is weird rin, no? Because all the other Bicol congressmen are obviously for it.
Yes.
Yeah, diba?
I can remember the first time I interviewed him about this issue. Yun nga, sinabi niya, meron nangyayaring parang supposedly, allegedly nga, bayaran nga doon ng 100 pesos per signature.
Now, itong binabanggit no, ni Representative Lagman na wala daw enabling law, yung People's Initiative. I'm not really sure what's going to be the decision of the Supreme Court on that because we do have RA 6735. So I think what they have to discuss now is whether or not RA 6735 is sufficient as an enabling law for a People's Initiative.
But however, I also saw an interview of former Justice Carpio. Nabanggit niya kasi, nasabi nga niya, People's Initiative ay hindi okay for changing the charter. Only amendments lang. Okay. And he also cited the COMELEC's Resolution 106650, citing nga na if you're going to do something with People's Initiative, amendments lang.
Yeah, but
tapos isa-isa lang.
Ito nga yun, again, no, a reminder, sa dami ng mga nag-umuugong at sabay-sabay na nagyayari, no, is that yung gustong baguhin ng People's Initiative is not really a lot of these economic provisions, yung political provisions. Ang gusto lang niya baguhin is how Congress will be voting for these changes.
So yun yung sinabi ni former Justice Carpio. Sabi niya, if you're going to cite nga na vote, how the two houses, diba, will vote, sabi niya, hindi yun po pwede through People's Initiative.
Okay. So kumbaga masyado siyang malaking issue para idaan lang sa People's Initiative.
Oo. So yun yung sinasabi niya.
Okay. So actually last night, of course, just to remind everyone, and also if you weren't able to tune in, we were able to talk to one of the petitioners from the proponent side. No? This is former Ako Bicol party list, Pido Garbin, ngayong mayor na siya. Ang sabi nga niya, itong People's Initiative, ang sagot nila sa Senado, kasi ang habit daw ng Senado is lagi daw nilang binablock at inuupuan lang ang any moves to change the Constitution. Pakinggan natin ang isang clip from last night.
Itong People's Initiative na ito, this was born out of frustration. Walang ginagawang Senado, yung House of Representatives, palagi naman ginagawa yung kinang constitutional duty to propose the needed amendments in the Constitution. Pagdating sa Senado, hindi ina-actionan. And therefore, we have no other choice but to use the third mode, this People's Initiative. So once and for all, umusad itong needed change in our Constitution.
So yun na nga. And right now, one other lawmaker is looking to question the ongoing People's Initiative. Let's find out who from Mean Los Baños. Mean, sino yun?
Yes, Sean, Senate Minority Leader Coco Pimentel is determined to challenge the ongoing campaign for a People's Initiative. He is set to file a petition before the Supreme Court, particularly to question the COMELEC's supposed ministerial duty to receive the signature forms.
Kahit ako mag-isa. But I'm sure magmaraming magpa-file. We can no longer avoid resort to judicial processes. Kailangan na ng referee. And that we will have to do something.
Senator Pimentel thinks the COMELEC is accommodating the proponents of this so-called People's Initiative a little too much. He also pointed out the lack of a proper enabling law for implementing a People's Initiative.
What law gave you a duty na kung may mag-abot sa iyo ng papeles na may pirma, bibilangin mo ang signature? Oh, what law? And all they can cite is RA 6735. Why does the COMELEC seem to know what to do with the papers with signatures being given to it? So, if it is because of that law, RA 6735, prohibit it from continuing from doing what they're doing because that law has 20 years ago been invalidated as basis for People's Initiative.
The Senate Minority Leader also personally acknowledged House Speaker Martin Romualdez as the one allegedly orchestrating the People's Initiative on the ground.
Ang feedback na nakukuha namin very uniform and very consistent. Sino ang kumikilos na supervisor sa baba? Congressman, member of the House of Representatives. Sila nagmo-monitor. Sino ang mga minagmamayabang that we already got the votes? Congressmen, members of the House of Representatives. Okay. And then, you look at the structure of the House of Representatives, paano ba mag-function yan? Hindi ba meron silang centralized leadership dyan? It may be a small group of people, or it could also be just one person. And who is that leader of that House? He goes by the title Speaker of the House of Representatives. My good friend, my classmate, Speaker Martin Romualdez.
Sean, at this point, it looks like charter change continues to drive a wedge between the Senate and the lower house. We're still waiting for details on what was talked about in separate meetings held in Malacanang today. But for now, that's the latest. Sean?
All right, thank you so much for that update, man. Los Baños. We're going to pause for a quick break for now, but right after that, the government reminds unconsolidated jeepney drivers that the 3-month extension approved by the president for them to operate will be the last. What can we expect over the next 3 months? We'll ask that question to Andy Ortega, chairman of the Office of Transportation Cooperatives. Stay with us.
You're watching The Big Story here on One News.
After extending the PUV consolidation deadline until end of April this year, the government has made it clear that this will be the final extension. Now, with this extended deadline, the Transportation Department is hoping to bump up the nationwide consolidation rate to 85% from the current 76%. The LTFRB earlier noted a surge in last-minute applications ahead of last year's December 31 deadline. With this, the agency is hopeful that more PUV operators will finally consolidate.
It will be open to everybody. So those who wish to consolidate may apply in the different regional offices and in the central office.
Hindi ko alam kung maniniwala ako na talagang
Ito na.
final.
Kasi pang ilan na ba?
Pang-8
Eight
since
extension.
2017.
Oo. So, kasi they're trying to achieve nga the target, which is to 85%.
Pero magulo pa di ba? So parang there's
Yeah.
on one side, they're saying nagmamatigas yung mga drivers and operator. Yun yung sabi ng LTFRB. On the side of the drivers and operators, they're saying magulo daw yung proseso.
Yes, yes.
And that hindi pa naman daw nare-rationalize yung mga ruta. So what's the point?
Oo.
Di ba?
Ito, sinasabi naman ni Manibela, Chairman Marvel Buena, ito yung mga nangunguna sa mga strike,
Manibela,
di ba? Oo,
oo.
sa Manibela. Sabi niya, he got a commitment from Speaker Romualdez na kakausapin si PBBM to scrap na nga itong consolidation deadline completely. No? At
Anong magyayari?
ang push nila, voluntary na lang yung consolidation.
Naku, so in short, babasura na yung
Oo,
programa,
ganon,
di ba?
ganon yung sinasabi nila.
Naku, pakinggan natin, no? Meron yata tayong soundbite from Sir Mar.
Wini-welcome natin itong bagong development na ito at nagpapasalamat tayo sa ating Pangulo at kay Speaker Martin Romualdez na naipakiusap niya sa Pangulo na ma-extend pa rin tayo at least kahit 6 months. Pero kahapon po, kagabi, nag-meeting po kami sa kanyang opisina ni Speaker habang nagkakaroon po ng hearing sa Congress at ipapakiusap pa rin po niya sa ating Pangulo na alisin itong mga deadlines at makapagpatuloy po ang ating hanap buhay.
Okay, so si Speaker Romualdez pala, yung
Nakakausap
backup nila, rest back nila.
Nakakausap nila.
BBM. Akala ko kasi si Transportation Secretary Jimmy Bautista.
Hindi.
Yun ang pinag-uusapan natin kagabi, di ba? Eto na, let's find out more about this extension for the deadline of PUV consolidation. Joining us tonight is Office of Transportation Cooperatives Chairman Andy Ortega. Chairman, good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Hi, Sean and Angela. Good evening. Magandang gabi.
All right, so tell us, Chairman, what finally convinced the President to have or to make the extension possible? Kasi dapat 1 week na lang, deadline na, and biglang last minute, nagbago ulit, and we all thought na yun na yung last deadline.
Yeah, yesterday, nakipag-meeting si Secretary Bautista with the President. Tapos, malapit, not only at the level of the Secretary, pati sa akin, sa OTC, sa LTFRB, mga individual drivers, no? I mean, mga operators nationwide na nakikiusap, na nag-iwi, sana magkaroon pa ng extension because gusto pa nilang sumama sa programa, but unfortunately, they were not able to, beat the deadline last December 31, at eventually, nag-isip pa rin sila, yung mga iba. So, because of that, lumapit ang Pangulo ang Secretary to the President yesterday and na-recommend ni Secretary Bautista na bigyan pa natin ng a little more time, extension, yung pagko-consolidate, and nag-agree ang President at nagbigay siya ng 3 more months na extension up to end of April.
So we're guessing, Chairman, na convincing yung argument to grant the 3-month extension for the final time, supposedly. Ano po ba yung major argument that was able to turn the tide?
When you say turn the tide, the extension,
Yes.
basically, isang bagay lang for them to have more time na sumali. That's all. It's just about the extending the deadline para makapag-consolidate sila. Because once you do that extension, makapasok ka ng hundreds or maybe thousands more, positive yun eh. This is an opportunity for those na maybe ayaw noon, na medyo na naguguluhan, But now, definitely, they see the positive effect of this program. Take note, we have 76%. Ganong kalaki ang nag-consolidate noong December 31. So yun, that made that decision, lumapit sila, and that turned the tide para pumayag ang Pangulo na, sige, gusto pa nating tumulong further and let's give them more time. Kaya nagkaroon ng decision ng Presidente kahapon.
And sir, of course, we also want to know kung out of the 76% consolidated, ilan pa po yung fully modernized, no? At saka ilan pa po, how many are in the process of taking out loans?
Alam mo, talking about modernization, yung pagbili actually ng mga bagong sasakyan, matagal pa yan, Angela. As of now, there are around 10,000 pa lang out of siguro dapat na mga 140,000 na vehicles to be modernized. So the process of modernization, yung actual na pagbibili, it will take years pa, no? Siguro mga 3 or 4 or 5 more years from now. Ang very important, which kailangan gawin at nagawa na nga with this extension, is mag-consolidate, magsama-sama. Rather than stay yung ating proseso before, one jeepney driver, one operator, which is hard to do, maintaining a vehicle and all of the challenges, nag-decide ang government na it's best na mag-form ka ng kooperatiba, pare-pareho kayong drivers, operators, you form a group, and then you strengthen yourself, palalakasin nyo, you'll do better, mas makaka-serve ka ng maayos sa pasero, and mas magiging magandang benepisyo nito for the drivers and operators.
Chairman Andy, clarify lang natin muna tong deadline extension. Is it safe to assume na kasama dun sa extension yung pag-waive ng mga fees at yung simplified application process?
Yes, yung sa extension, consolidation, they'll just have to go to the normal process. No? Wala namang waiving of fees pinag-uusapan dito. It's the process of consolidation. Yung 3 months na yan, that's more than enough time for somebody to form a cooperative through our office, sa OTC, and then they go, pwedeng isabay yan, they go to LTFRB para mag-consolidate naman. So ito talaga, this is really for those who would like to join last minute or they just change their mind ngayon lang. Kasi yung mga iba naman nating kasamahan talaga, there's no interest on their part to really join the program or even form into a cooperative or corporation. So ang nire-reach out namin dito are the ordinary members, ordinary drivers, ordinary operators that would like to go further, support the program, at saka tuloy-tuloy yung kanilang hanap buhay.
Okay, but we still have, of course, Manibela and Piston still pushing, Manibela specifically, still pushing for voluntary consolidation, in which case, kind of like, masascrap na rin, no, itong whole point nitong programa kung magiging voluntary siya. May chance ba na makonsider ito or it won't be considered at all? Kung sa bagay, kasi malapit na rin tayo sa goal natin, no, of the consolidation percentage.
Alam mo, Sean, yung gusto nila na walang consolidation, no? Yung gusto nila na sarili lang nila, yung prangkisa, they don't want to join a cooperative or form a corporation. Very clear, that is not part of the program. More than 6 months ago, alam na yan ang grupo ng Piston. Alam na nila that it will not happen. Hindi kami pwede mag-agree because ang pinaka-meat essence ng programa is the consolidation. So, this extension is not really for them. This extension is for those, yung mga mag-isa dyan, maybe na-convince na wag sumama, ngunit ngayon naliliwanagan, this is really for them. The more that we could get na sumama sa programa, the better for us, the better for these operators, and better for the program. Yung ibang grupo dyan, yung dalawang grupo, they filed a case sa Supreme Court. I guess that is their venue. Extension is not anymore their venue. Ang venue nila is the court.
At kahapon po, Chairman, nakausap po dito sa programang The Big Story si Congressman Dan Fernandez at nabanggit po nila yung alleged anomaly dito po sa PUVM. Isang araw po dito yung kawalan ng bidding sa pagkuha ng mga modern jeepneys na mahal na nga daw po kukumpara sa locally made.
Yeah, merong idea si Congressman Dan Fernandez about bidding process, no? Parang sinasuggest niya itong programa will go into a bidding process. But we politely explain to him, hindi naman kasi pwede dito yun kasi Alam mo, yung pagbibili kasi ng sasakyan, it's an individual choice. Decision niya ng mga cooperatives or ng corporations kung anong gusto nilang brand, kung anong gusto nilang klase. So hindi namin pwedeng ma-impose. And the DOTr family, itong administration na to, no touch kami in terms of the decision of these groups to choose. Decision nila yan, we cannot impose. So yung idea ni Congressman Fernandez, pwede nilang maisuggest, mapag-aralan, pero at the moment talagang hindi siya pwede dito sa programa natin sa PUVNP.
Chairman Andy, nabanggit nga no, ni Chairman Guadis, nandito po siya sa studio namin last week. Sinabi niya, they're gonna subject it to a free market na nga. Kumbaga, the choice is completely yours. Para nga hindi mabahira ng korupsyon. Kasi once pumasok dyan yung bidding, yung mga ganyang terms, kung ano-ano na rin yung nakakasingit. Would you say that in the eyes of those who consolidated and the drivers, the operators, whether consolidated or not, ano po yung preference nila no base sa mga nakalap ninyo? I'm sure marami na kayong nakausap sa kanila.
Yung preference nila kasi at the moment there are 54 models, no. Napansin namin may isang brand na very yung iba yung kanyang dating na talagang reliable. Doon sila pumunta. But just to be clear, ang mga nabibili kasi ngayon or choices ngayon sa local market or rather sa market is more than 50% are locally manufactured, no? Siguro 40% lang yung totally built sa ibang bansa. Pero yung sinasabi kahapon sa Congress, yung 100% built, gawa sa Pilipinas, gawa na isang Pilipino, wala talaga tayong ganan ngayon. Hindi ko alam kung magkakaroon tayo ng ganong klaseng 100%, but we are open, we encourage everybody na sumama sa programa para the more choice for the groups to really buy yung gusto nilang produkto. Yung mura, matibay, iconic design, yung jeep, kung merong ganyang choice, open yan for everybody to choose. But at the moment, yan ang mga choices. So namimili sila ng mga ganong klaseng itsura, pero matitibay. But in the future, there will be more choices para sa ating mga cooperatives and corporations.
All right. And so far, Chairman Andy, last question na lang. By the end of April, how many percent do you think, no? How many percent more will be consolidated in the next 3 months?
Nag-end tayo last year ng 76, no? Si Secretary Bautista kanina sa isang press con, he thinks na aabot tayo ng 85. We could reach 85, no? Any percent above our 76 before, good sign yon. The more, the better. Makatulong tayo further sa ating mga drivers, no, and operators. So, yung sinabi niyang 85, hopefully we could reach that. But definitely, very clear sa sinabi niya, this is the final extension. Ito ay para sa mga gusto pang sumama, nagbago ang isip, and then definitely yung programa ay tuloy-tuloy. This is really for our commuters at they deserve this program, the benefits ng programa na to, the sooner the better.
Siyempre, we can't avoid rin, Chairman, no, na may madidisplace talagang mga drivers kasi nagre-rationalize din ng routes alongside. So talagang mababawasan no, yung mga number of vehicles, kumbaga, yung total number of vehicles. I read from a previous interview of yours that you have programs for those that are potentially going to be displaced by PUVM. Can you run us through the plans for those people? Those drivers?
Late last year, nag-connect na ako sa different cooperatives nationwide, even the federations. Nag-post na kami sa Facebook na these cooperatives are looking for drivers. Kasi as of now, naghahanap na ng drivers ang ating mga cooperatives. They really need drivers, no? Tapos, pagkatapos ng consolidation, definitely magkakaroon ng mga bagong sasakyan sila. Because ang isang sasakyan, they could have at least 2 drivers. Tapos hindi lang drivers, meron pa itong mga parang pahinante. So yung job creation or rather job dito sa programa, sa cooperatives, dadami pa. Pwede talagang masalo yung mga drivers na kailangan ng trabaho. Because remember, ang nagko-consolidate are not the drivers. Decision to ng operators. So yung operators, may driver yan. Pag ayaw niya mag-consolidate, ang target natin really are the drivers na mabigyan ng trabaho. And we feel that kakayanin natin. It will not be easy, but that will be our objective, especially sa OTC, tulungan ang lahat, mabigyan natin sila ng trabaho as much as we can.
All right, well, really hoping for that by the end of April. Thank you so much for your time tonight, OTC, or Office of Transportation Cooperatives Chairman Andy Ortega.
At ito na nga, medyo may bad news din tayo ngayon, Sean.
Angela naman.
Thursday na may bad news pa rin. But Zamboanga del Norte has started experiencing strong El Niño condition as hectares of cropland have been damaged in the province. Data from the Agriculture Department showed that more than 20 hectares of farmland have been damaged by the El Niño phenomenon. The value of the destroyed crops has exceeded 717,000 pesos. The DA says it has been teaching farmers about the proper management of crops. The agency also encourages the planting of drought-resistant crops or crops that can survive intense heat. Recently, the members of the reactivated task force El Niño gathered to discuss its preparation for the country. They also announced the creation of an El Niño online platform to provide information and help the public prepare for drought.
Ito bad news rin, no, Angela? Mukhang hindi lang kasi ang Zamboanga del Norte ang apektado ngayon ng El Niño. We'll be getting more details on that from JC Cosico. Go ahead, JC.
Sean, that's right. Unfortunately, it's not just Zamboanga del Norte that has been dealing with the effects of El Niño. Also affected is Zangat Dam in Bulacan, which is the primary source of water for Metro Manila and adjacent provinces. According to Pag-asa data, in almost a month, the water level in Angat has dropped to 212.07 meters. That's already a 2-meter decline. The reason for that has been traced to the prevailing El Niño or intense drought.
Na ang mga dams natin is talagang sa mga tubig ulan na umaasa. And ngayon ng month na to, dahil nga meron tayong El Niño, is kukunti yung ating bagyo, particular nga dito sa Luzon area.
The operation of the Angat Dam is still normal for now. However, there is a concern about the further decrease of water levels in the Angat Dam in the coming months.
Patuloy yung ang unang mababawasan is yung pag-generate ng kuryente. Then, kung continuous yung pagbaba, is yung mga farmers natin, yung sa irigasyon, medyo yung tubig nila kagaya nung kasing lalakas ng dati.
Bulacan and Metro Manila are among the 19 areas experiencing a dry spell due to El Niño. During a dry spell, there is a reduction of rainfall for 2 to 3 months. 8 areas, on the other hand, are experiencing drought or severe dry spell. There, rainfall is scarce for 3 to 5 months. Most of the regions impacted by El Niño are provinces in Luzon. Sean, according to Pag-asa, come March, additional areas may feel the intensity of El Niño, even extending to Visayas and Mindanao. Back to you.
Thanks so much for that, JC Cosico.
Now up next, let's talk about this viral prescription drug Ozempic, which is allegedly being used for weight loss. We'll be speaking with Philippine College of Physicians past President Dr. Maricar Limpin when the big story returns. Keep it here.
Welcome back. You're still watching The Big Story here on One News.
There's this weight loss trend that has been going around for quite some time now, Sean. And the subject of that is this diabetes drug called Ozempic, which has become a social media phenomenon due to its weight loss properties.
Grabe yan.
Narinig
Alam
mo na yan?
It must be a phenomenon because I heard about it from my mom and my tita.
Okay. Well, apparently, this drug has been quite popular since last year thanks to TikTok and other social media platforms where users are sharing their weight loss journeys through their use of Ozempic. The trend even led to a global shortage of the drug in early 2023 due to growing demand. And though many experts have warned of its potential side effects, it remains very popular among people looking to lose weight, even those not diagnosed with diabetes. According to the manufacturer's website, Ozempic is a medicine being injected into adults with type 2 diabetes on a weekly basis. It was developed to improve blood sugar levels and reduce the risk of major cardiovascular diseases.
So it's been a while since that drug went trending. What else do we know about this drug at this point in time? And really, how serious are the side effects? We have with us tonight Dr. Maricar Limpin, former president of the Philippine College of Physicians, to help us answer these questions. Dr. Limpin, good evening and thank you for joining us tonight.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening to everyone.
Alright, ang daming pwedeng
Daming
itanong
tanong.
about Ozempic. Pero let's just say you are not type 2 diabetic. Safe ba ang Ozempic?
Well, just like with any other medications, wala naman talagang gamot na completely free from any side effects. So we can expect side effects even from Ozempic or na natin ang generic name nito ay semaglutide.
Okay, parang wala tong FDA approval for weight loss. Ang approval niya is of course for diabetes. Can you tell us, bakit nga ba nakakapayat ang Ozempic?
Yes, kasi ang Ozempic parang katulad yan nung isang naglalabas siya, nakakatulong siya sa pag-increase ng insulin na siyang nagiging dahilan para bumaba ang blood sugar ng mga pasyenteng may diabetes, So in a way dahil sa ito ay nakakatulong, so pag kumakain ka, mabilis na na-utilize ng katawan natin yung mga kinakain natin, So in a way nakakatulong 'yan doon sa pagbaba din ng weight ng isang tao. Unfortunately nga, as you have said, under the FDA ang Ozempic ay talagang being marketed bilang gamot para sa diabetes. Hindi ho siya marketed na pang weight loss. Although ang isa sa effect po niya ay bumababa po ang timbang ng isang tao.
Ayun. Pero meron po bang other similar drugs to it? May naririnig po ba kayong mga cases din na binibenta without prescription?
Meron po actually na may isang klase pa po ng similar na gamot na injection din po na medyo mas mataas po ang dose kesa sa Ozempic, pero ito po talaga ang gamit po nito ay para sa weight loss, So ang marketing ho niya ay talaga para makatulong doon sa mga tao na may problema sa kanilang timbang. So ito ginagamit ito ng mga malalaki ho talaga. Alam niyo naman sa Amerika, lalo na sa Amerika, marami ho sa kanila na masyadong malalaki. So nakakatulong ho ito para bumaba ang timbang. At yun ho talaga ang primary indication po nung gamot na yon. Hindi ko na ho sasabihin yan, Meron pa pong mga ibang gamot na very similar po sa Ozempic, May tablets po na ang pinaka-main pa rin po ay pagbaba ng sugar, among type 2 diabetes. So of course iano lang ho natin ang pagbaba ng sugar sa mga may diabetes, kasama po dito hindi lang yung gamot kung hindi yung diet at saka exercise. So very important pa rin yung dalawang main part ng management ho ng mga may diabetes, yan po yung pagkain ng tama at saka yung pag-ehersisyo.
Okay. Dr. Limpin, I was on the Ozempic website kanina. Talagang bumulaga sa akin. Napakadami niyang comparisons. Ozempic versus itong diabetes drug. Ozempic versus itong ibang klaseng, ang dami niyang ganon. So, sa dami ng possible na pwede mong gamitin na gamot for diabetes type 2, para kanino ba talaga itong Ozempic? Like, how do doctors pick what specific anti-diabetes drug to prescribe to a patient? And also, lahat po ba ng mga gamot na ito, pareho yung mekanismo sa katawan?
Hindi po pare-parehas, yung mechanism of action po nila ay iba-iba. In fact, magbuti nga at naitanong mo yan, kasi ang Ozempic ay ang indication po niya, ginagamit lang po yan talaga kapag hindi po nagtatrabaho yung usual na ginagamit po namin para sa diabetes, no? So marami pa po tayong mga gamot na pwedeng gamitin, hindi ho agad Ozempic, no? Kung ititignan ho ninyo, ang Ozempic po ini-injection, no? At binibigay po once a month at bukod pa ho dyan, napakataas ng presyo, no? Sobrang taas po yung presyo ng, I think dito sa atin ay siguro ho ay mga 5,000, no? Mahigit. So, imbis na yan po yung ibibigay, mas maganda po na yung ibang mga gamot pa po para sa diabetes. Meron po tayo na tableta lang ang iinumin at maganda din po ang nakikitang epekto ng mga gamot na ito kasi itong mga gamot na ito hindi lang nakakababa ng blood sugar, kung hindi nakakababa din ng risk ng cardiovascular events. At pag sinabi ho natin cardiovascular events, kasama po dito yung aatakihin ka sa puso o kaya ay magkaka-stroke ka at nakakabawas din po nakaka-improve din po nung heart failure, yung pagpalya ng puso. May mga gamot na rin po tayo para sa diabetes na pati po yung risk na magkaroon ng problema or komplikasyon sa kidneys ay maiiwasan na rin, no? So, madami pa po tayong pwedeng gamitin, no, para sa diabetes. Hindi po kailangang Ozempic kaagad ang ating gagamitin para sa diabetes mellitus.
So, Dr. Limpin, eto nga kasi sumikat itong Ozempic kasi sabi nila for weight loss at maraming, alam mo naman tayo, yung mga tao na gustong magpapayat, talagang game sila for that. But syempre may mga side effects, mga testimonies na nangyari din sa iba. Ano po ba talaga yung mangyayari sa tao if you take Ozempic kung wala ka naman pong diabetes in the first place?
Yeah, pag wala ho kayong diabetes, marami pong mga side effects, no? Pwede po. Actually, may diabetes ho kayo o wala kayong diabetes, no? Pwede ho itong mangyari, no? Ang common na side effects po ng Ozempic ay pwede ho kayo magkaroon ng upset stomach, pwede ho kayo magkaroon ng heartburn, no? Yung parang may bloatedness, feeling of bloatedness. Pwede rin ho kayo magkaroon nung parang nasusuka kayo o talagang magsusuka kayo, no? Magkakaroon din ho kayo ng loss of appetite, which I think nakakatulong, no, doon sa weight loss kasi yun, nawawalan kayo ng ganang kumain. Pwede rin hong stomach flu, headache, dizziness. But bukod ho dito sa mga common side effects nito, no, may mga serious na side effects po ang Ozempic. Isa na ho dyan, pwedeng biglang magkaroon ng pagbabago, blaring of vision, no? Yun ho, yung isa sa mga malaking problema. Pwede rin hong magkaroon ng mga unusual changes, no, sa mood na sometimes itong pagbabago sa mood na ito ay pwedeng magbigay o magdulot ng pag-iisip na gusto mong saktan ang sarili mo, no? Pwede rin ho na magkaroon ho kayo ng parang thyroid tumor. Isa po yan sa mga serious side effect po ng gamot na yung thyroid tumor, yan po ang isa ng mga palatandaan niyan, biglang magkakaroon ho kayo ng pamamaga o kaya lump, no, doon sa neck ko ninyo, pwedeng magkaroon kayo ng problema sa paglunok, no? Or kaya feeling na short of breath kayo kasi medyo lumalaki po yun dito sa may leeg. pwede rin ho kayo magkaroon ng simptomas ng pancreatitis, no? Yung pamamaga ng lapay na pwede hong magbigay sa inyo ng napakasakit ng sakit sa stomach pain, no? Severe pain, no? Sa may taas ho ng tiyan, no? Na pwede hong nagra-radiate o pumupunta ho doon sa likuran. Kasama din dito yung vomiting and nausea. So, marami pong mga serious side effects ang Ozempic. So, as I said, hindi ho siya free from any side effects. Meron pong very common, but meron din pong mga serious side effects ang Ozempic.
Now, Dr. Limpin, nakakatakot yung mga sinabi mo. Kasi nga hormones, no, ang naapektuhan nito. Pero kaya nga, Doc, ang weird. Kasi minsan mag-Facebook ka lang, may makikita ka, may nagpo-post. Minsan doktor pa. Na, syempre kasi kailangan iturok, di ba? So, medyo ino-offer nila na may Ozempic nga daw. On that side, as a doctor, hindi po ba bawal yun na magbenta ng what I'm assuming is a prescription drug? And to actually have to administer it, ano po yung workaround? Meron po ba tayong batas against this?
Yes, meron po, no? Unang-una, ang Ozempic is a prescription drug, no? Therefore, pwede ho lang ninyo makuha yan kapag may prescription ho kayo ng doktor. Hindi ho yan pwedeng ibenta sa mga clinic basta-basta nang walang prescription ng doktor. At meron ho tayong batas na nagsasabi na hindi ho pwedeng magbenta sa clinic unless yung clinic na yon ay registered na pwede ho silang magbenta ng gamot, no? So kumbaga sa ay registered ho sila sa FDA na sila po ay parang isang butika na nagbebenta ng gamot. Pero para ikaw ay aprubahan ng FDA natin na pwede ka magbenta ng gamot, dapat po ang isang requirement to, meron ho kayong dapat na pharmacist. Therefore, pag ang clinic lang po ang magbebenta, wala hong pharmacist, hindi ho siya registered sa FDA, hindi ho pa pwede yan. That is against the law. Meron na ho tayong batas niyan at yan po ay pwede ninyong i-report, no? Kasi hindi ho talaga pwedeng basta-basta na lang magbenta. Ang ibang clinic, no? Lalo-lalo na kung hindi prescribed ng isang doktor.
Buti na lang nabanggit ni Dr. Limpin yan because ang daming mga aesthetic clinics na nagbebenta
nito. Oo. Baka nga wala pang doktor doon, no? Minsan mga nurse lang, yung mga trained aestheticians. Pero Doc, yung doktor ba na mahuling na nagbibigay, nagpe-prescribe ng Ozempic or nag-a-administer sa isang non-diabetic, pwede bang matanggalan ng lisensya din?
Wala ho tayong ang nasa batas ho natin ay hindi ho pwedeng i-market nung kumpanya yung gamot kung siya po ay off-label, no? Ibig sabihin ho off-label katulad nito, no? Hindi siya talaga ang kanyang pinaka-label po ay para sa diabetes, hindi ho para sa weight reduction, no? So, hindi ho nila pwedeng i-market siya ng ganyan. Kaya papansinin ninyo, pumunta ho kayo doon sa website ng manufacturer. Nakalagay ho doon very clear na hindi ho nila minamarket yan. Hindi ho ito, ang Ozempic ay hindi isang weight loss drug, no? So, yun, very clear ho yan doon sa kanilang website. Pag ang isang doktor, sa isang doktor po kasi marami po tayo na minsan po ay nagbibigay talaga, no, ng off-label doon sa gamot, no, hindi ho sa usual na indication. May mga pag-aaral po kasi na pwede rin hong gamitin pero kung hindi po yan ang kanyang talagang indication ng gamot, no, mas maganda po na sa ating mga kapwa-doktor, wag na lang ho natin masyadong sabihin sa ating mga pasyente o kaya ay ibigay sa ating mga pasyente kasi baka po magkaroon lamang ng problema. Lalong-lalo na po kung ito po ang pasyente ay walang diabetes.
Ayun.
Okay, loud and clear, Dr. Limpin, no Ozempic if no diabetes type 2. Maraming salamat for explaining to us tonight. Dr. Maricar Limpin, former president of the Philippine College of Physicians.
Yan. At ito pa, Sean, ang isa pang mainit-init na balita, Chinese Ambassador Wang Xilian issued a firm statement regarding the country's defense officials when it comes to dealing with issues in the West Philippine Sea. Let's listen to that.
We need to follow the guidance of the president instead of any officials. We expect that both sides will meet in halfway to handle the differences in a proper manner to de-escalate the tension.
Wang made the remark following Defense Secretary Gibo Teodoro's assertion that Manila and Beijing are unable to reach a compromise on their differences unless China acknowledges the Permanent Court of Arbitration ruling from 2016. The Chinese officials also stressed the importance of the Philippines adhering to the discussions held with China in the recently concluded bilateral consultation mechanism. And as said earlier, Wang also maintained the position that both China and the Philippines should find a middle ground to diplomatically resolve the territorial dispute and ease ongoing tensions. For his part, Teodoro has yet to issue a statement on Wang's latest remarks.
But there was another issue raised by Ambassador Wang Xilian, and this is President Bongbong Marcos's recent greeting to the newly elected president of Taiwan. Now, because of this, China is accusing the Philippines of violating the One China policy. However, President Marcos has since clarified this by saying that the Philippines is not endorsing Taiwan's independence.
We welcome and we appreciate President Marcos reiterating One China policy and emphasizing that Taiwan is a province of China and the Philippines is not endorsing Taiwan independence.
All right, 9:01 na. Before we go, time for our big picture tonight. Ito medyo mabigat to, no? Today actually marks the day of national remembrance for the heroic sacrifice of the SAF 44 in Mama Sapano. President Bongbong Marcos personally went to the PNP Academy in Cavite for the 9th anniversary of the death of the police officers. The president led the offering of flowers at their monument. They were also honored with a 21-gun salute. In his speech, President Marcos emphasized the lessons learned from the story of the SAF 44. He asserts that their sacrifice would seem insignificant if we allow terrorists to prevail and neglect our own territory. Marcos also reminded that Filipinos would give greater value to the memory of the SAF 44 if we build a proper society. In 2017, former President Rodrigo Duterte issued a proclamation declaring this day as the annual day of national remembrance for the fallen men. All right, our hearts go out for the families.
Yeah.
And of course, grabe talaga yung nagyari on that day. On that note, that's it for the show tonight. We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thank you and good night.